Buckle up, folks. Today we're delving right into the heart of a truly timeless tale. The year was 2008, the track was Monza, and the driver was a young Sebastian Vettel. At just 21, Vettel was the underdog in the Toro Rosso team, a team known for cultivating fresh talent and co-owned by ex-F1 racer Gerhard Berger. It wasn't an easy start for Vettel in that season, with 4 retirements in the first 4 races, but things took a sensational turn at the Monaco Grand Prix. A new chassis and wet conditions played right into Vettel's hands, and he made it 2/3 of the way into the race on wet tires before switching to slicks, finishing 5th. This was the start of a winning streak of sorts for Vettel and Toro Rosso, racking up points in 4 out of the next 7 races. But the real cherry on the cake, the pinnacle of Vettel's season, was the Italian Grand Prix at Monza. The Toro Rosso team had an impressive showing during the wet practice sessions, allowing Vettel to get to grips with the soggy conditions. This was the race where Vettel bagged his first Formula One pole position, becoming the youngest ever pole sitter at the time. Despite the weather, Toro Rosso made the daring decision to stay on low downforce, banking on competitiveness on Monza's iconic long straights. On race day, Vettel took control, expertly managing the challenging conditions and transitioning from wet to intermediate tires as the track dried up. He sailed past the finish line with a comfortable 12.5-second lead over Heikki Kovalainen, securing Toro Rosso's maiden victory and the first win for an Italian team outside of Ferrari since 1957. Vettel's win wasn't just a stroke of luck, it was the culmination of hard work, sheer determination, and a meticulous attention to detail. The win proved pivotal for Vettel's career, setting the stage for his promotion to Red Bull the following year, where he clinched 4 consecutive world championships from 2010 to 2013. So, there you have it, the unforgettable tale of Sebastian Vettel's first victory in Formula One. A victory that saw a young underdog rise against the odds, bringing joy to his team, his fans, and the town of Faenza, where Toro Rosso is based. It was a moment in time that not only marked the start of a legendary career but also changed the course of history for Toro Rosso and Formula One. A truly historic and epic tale, wouldn't you agree? Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. I'm George, usually found talking about all things fast and furious on the F1 Motor Fever podcast channel. Joining me today is our eloquent commentator, William. Now, you might be wondering why I'm here instead of our usual host, the renowned Enzo. Well, today's a special day, it's a Thursday morning, and that means we're here to bring you a special episode about something epic and historic, right here on the F1 Motor Fever podcast channel.
Indeed, George. We're here to delve deeper into those significant moments, those unforgettable races, and those iconic drivers that have left their mark on the world of Formula One.
That's right, William Turner. And today, we've chosen a topic that's as thrilling as it is inspiring. We're going to explore Sebastian Vettel's sensational victory at the 2008 Italian Grand Prix, his first win in Formula One. It's a story that's sure to spark your interest, whether you're a diehard F1 fan or just a casual listener. So, if you want more details, stick with us. But before we dive into all that, we've got a small request. If you love listening to our podcast, go ahead and subscribe to the F1 Motor Fever podcast channel, hit the notification bell, and drop us a comment. Feel free to share our episodes with your friends and family too. Your support means the world to us and helps keep this channel running.
Absolutely, George. Every like, share, and comment helps us bring you more content. So, we appreciate your support.
Now, without further ado, let's shift this conversation into high gear. Full throttle. I was just reflecting on Vettel's journey. Quite remarkable, isn't it? His full-time chance coincidentally came at Toro Rosso, a team backed by Red Bull and co-owned by ex-F1 racer Gerhard Berger. This was a team fresh on the grid, their focus firmly on nurturing young talent for future world championships.
Absolutely, the foresight and approach were quite revolutionary. Toro Rosso effectively used young and promising drivers as the lifeline of their team's growth.
Yes, and Vettel was quite a catch for them. His performance against his more experienced teammate, Antonio Liuzzi, was impressive, to say the least. Vettel outqualified and outraced Liuzzi in 7 events they contested together. But there's one thing that's been nagging at me. Vettel's best result with Toro Rosso that year was a 4th-place finish in the Chinese Grand Prix, right?
I'm not completely certain about that.
Let's call Victoria Parker for confirmation. Hi there, hope you're well. We're discussing Vettel's initial days with Toro Rosso. Now, was it the Chinese Grand Prix where Vettel bagged Toro Rosso's best result that year with a 4th-place finish? And it all started to change for Vettel from the Monaco Grand Prix, right? Toro Rosso introduced a brand new chassis, and Vettel was able to make the most of the changing conditions during the race.
Yes, it was quite a strategic move. Vettel was able to outlast many of his rivals on wet tyres for 2/3 of the race before switching to slicks. That strategy paid off handsomely with a 5th-place finish.
It seems like that was the turning point for Vettel and Toro Rosso. After that, they had 4 more points finishes in the next 7 races, even repeating that 5th-place finish at Spa-Francorchamps. But who could have predicted what was to come at Monza?
Absolutely, that was an unforgettable moment. But it all started with the struggles and challenges they faced at the beginning of the season.
Yes, the start of the season was tough, particularly with the old car. But they turned things around, made improvements, and by the time they introduced the new car at Monaco, things just started to fall into place. The progression from that point was just remarkable. It shows how significant the right equipment and the right timing can be in this sport. Whoever had the chance to witness that event would not forget the formidable performance of Vettel and his teammate, Sebastian Vettel. They put in the laps in the wet conditions when many others took refuge in their pit garages.
That was indeed a pivotal moment. But I'd argue that it was not all about the sheer courage to drive in those treacherous conditions. Their decision to persist despite the weather was also about making the most of the conditions to gain an edge over their competitors.
Interesting perspective, but I'm not entirely convinced. Wouldn't the risks involved in driving in the rain outweigh any potential advantage?
Well, consider this. Vettel completed 48 laps over the course of free practice 1 and free practice 2, with Vettel completing 59. That's nearly a race distance around the track. Meanwhile, the likes of championship leader Lewis Hamilton and his McLaren teammate Heikki Kovalainen covered only 26 and 30 laps respectively.
I see your point. The data does suggest that they may have benefited from their time on the track. But I still wonder if the risk was worth it given the potential for accidents in the rain.
That's fair. It's normal to have differing views, and all perspectives have merit. The important thing is to consider all angles and keep an open mind.
I agree. I'll give it some more thought. For now, though, let's carry on with Vettel's remarkable journey. The team's boss, Toast, recalls the victory's foundation was laid on the Friday of that momentous weekend. It was a wet day, and they knew there was a high chance of rain for the whole weekend. So, they made the strategic decision to familiarize their drivers with the wet track.
That definitely seems like a smart move. The conditions at Monza are tough, and in the wet, it would have been even more challenging.
Indeed, and it's not just about avoiding the slippery areas. There are other factors to consider, like the water spray that doesn't dry up because of the surrounding woods.
I must say, I hadn't exactly considered that. Knowing where the track provides grip and where it's slippery is crucial, yes, but understanding the dynamics of the natural environment could also provide a significant advantage. It's a good point, something to ponder indeed.
Precisely. And that's not all. The drivers could also perfect the car's setup for the race and qualifying. They could adjust to the different feeling with less downforce, which is a characteristic of the low downforce configuration at Monza. The more time spent on the track, the better they could optimize the car's setup.
That's a crucial detail that might often be overlooked. The setup of the car can greatly impact the performance, and tailoring it to the specific conditions could provide a significant edge. Quite insightful.
Adami, a key figure from Vettel's team, weighs in on this as well. They knew they were the underdogs, a small team going against the big guys. But they decided to use that to their advantage. The larger teams were not running, trying to save mileage on the engine, but they decided to get out there and get familiar with the conditions.
That was indeed a very wise move. Other teams might have been concerned about losing tires for later in the weekend, but they focused on understanding the car's behavior in the wet conditions. They had a good feeling from the previous week's testing, which surely added to their confidence.
Absolutely. And that wasn't the only key to their successful weekend. They also worked on the car's setup throughout the event, further optimizing their performance.
Clearly, their strategic choices and diligent work paid off. Their efforts laid the groundwork for the victory that followed.
I'm continuously amazed by the intricacies and complexities of Formula One. The levels of strategy, methodical planning, and sheer nerve are astounding. What do you all think, dear listeners? Are you finding these insights as fascinating as we are? We would love to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to interact with us via our social media handles. We thoroughly enjoy your feedback and engagement. Let's dive back into the incredible journey of Vettel's breakthrough season. One thing to note here is that Vettel was a young driver, eager to get out there and experience the thrill of the race. He was fearless and always ready to go, regardless of the conditions. He proved his ability in wet conditions in previous races, and that no doubt gave him a boost in confidence.
Indeed, but it wasn't just about his bravery and confidence. The team also made crucial adjustments to their cars to aid Vettel and his teammate Baudère. The cars were not fully set up for wet conditions. They stayed on low downforce to remain competitive on the long straights.
Yes, and this strategy worked wonders, with Vettel securing the second position in the final practice session on Saturday. He continued to hold his own against Formula One's big names, which required extreme wet tyres for all the qualifying sessions.
That's not completely accurate. It was actually the third practice session where Vettel secured the second position, not the final one.
You're right. My apologies for the confusion. It's the third and final practice session of Saturday where Vettel shone. I appreciate the correction. Let me get my facts straight. Vettel indeed made a splendid show in the third practice session, outclassing many of the established stars. Incredible. The qualifying session was truly a spectacle. Vettel started strong with a top 3 position in Q1, signaling Toro Rosso's promising pace. But it was in Q2 where Vettel truly shined, snatching the top spot.
And then he kept his cool in the decisive Q3 phase, didn't he?
Absolutely. He once again clinched the top spot, outpacing Kovalainen by just under a tenth. This was a milestone moment for both Vettel and the Toro Rosso team. Vettel remains the youngest Formula One pole sitter, at just 21 years, 2 months and 11 days old.
Quite an achievement. But how did he manage to do that? How was he able to outperform the others, especially under such challenging conditions?
Adami explains that it was a combination of factors. Vettel was able to adapt to the track conditions, make the right tyre choices, and execute the run plan. He extracted the most from every run. The key was building the confidence early in the weekend, understanding the track, the conditions, and the car's setup.
So, it was not just about driving skills, but also about strategy, understanding the environment, and making the right decisions at the right time.
Spot on. And let's not forget the sheer joy that ensued when Vettel's final lap sealed the pole position. The Toro Rosso garage burst into celebrations. It was a defining moment for the team that were once backmarkers under the Minardi name before Red Bull's takeover. A day, I'm sure, they will never forget. After the excitement of qualifying, all eyes turned to race day. With Vettel starting in pole position and Baudère in fourth, and rain predicted, there was a palpable sense of anticipation. Adami shares that their target was to secure good points. But even he admits that the day turned out to be even better than expected.
Why was it a nice surprise to see they were starting with the safety car?
Oh, come on. Are you pulling my leg? I thought you were an expert in Formula One.
Well, I am, but not everyone listening might be. Some might be joining us for the first time or might not have all the details.
Fair enough, but you don't want to bore our seasoned fans, do you? That could make them change the channel.
I'm sure they won't mind a bit of basic information. It could be interesting even if it seems obvious.
Alright, you have a point. So, to answer your question, the start of a race is a critical and often dangerous moment. By starting with a safety car due to wet weather, the drivers avoided a perilous standing start and run down to the first chicane. It reduced the risk of collisions and gave Vettel a better chance of maintaining his lead. Once the race got underway behind the safety car, Vettel kept his cool and took charge when green flag conditions took over. After a couple of laps behind Maylander's Mercedes, the drivers were released and Vettel managed to maintain his lead over Kovalainen in the McLaren and Webber's Red Bull.
How did he manage to maintain the lead throughout the race?
Vettel displayed exceptional skill in navigating through the changing weather conditions. He extended his lead over Kovalainen, who was struggling with his brakes and wet tires. He then adept handled another rain shower and successfully transitioned from wet to intermediate tires as conditions improved.
The margin by which he won the race must have been quite something.
Indeed. Vettel's winning margin was 12.5 seconds over Kovalainen, with the BMW Sauber of Robert Kubica 20 seconds back in third. No one could get close to Formula One's newest star. He not only secured Toro Rosso's maiden triumph, but also the first for the Red Bull Group as a whole. Quite the feat, wouldn't you agree? You know, this talk of Vettel's triumphant race is reminding me of that time I tried my hand at go-karting. I remember it was a rainy day, much like the one Vettel had, but unlike him, I couldn't handle the wet track at all. I spun out on the first corner and ended up coming in last.
Interesting as that is, we are a bit off topic, aren't we?
Oh, you're absolutely right. Apologies for the detour. Let's get back to our main story. We were discussing Vettel's maiden triumph and how he delivered the first victory for the Red Bull Group. Quite an impressive feat, indeed. Now here's an interesting fact for you. Vettel and Toro Rosso clinching that win also meant it was the first victory for an Italian team other than Ferrari since Fangio's last victory with Maserati back in 1957. Quite a day for the history books, wouldn't you agree?
It certainly was. Everyone in the team performed exceptionally well. The pit stops were on point, and the strategies were spot on.
And the cherry on top was the fact that this was the first car they got from designer Adrian Newey. The only difference between the Toro Rosso and Red Bull car was the engine. They had the Renault engine, and we had the Ferrari engine.
A truly successful weekend for the entire Red Bull family.
Speaking of families, did you know that in some families, they borrow each other's clothes? Well, in the Red Bull family, they seem to borrow each other's cars.
Ha ha ha, that's a good one. I guess when you're part of the Red Bull family, you get to enjoy the finest engines.
Absolutely, it's all in the family, eh? Ha ha ha. Now, after the race, the entire team was quite emotional. Winning in Monza as Italians, that's always something special. They celebrated a few days later with a party with everyone who'd been a part of Toro Rosso at the time. It was a moment of immense joy and accomplishment.
It's not just the drivers, is it? The victory is won on the track, but the effort is put in by the entire team, both at the race and back at the factory.
Absolutely right. That is one thing people often tend to overlook. The drivers are the face of the team, but it's an amalgamation of efforts from everyone involved. It's a group victory in the truest sense.
And I bet the celebrations in Faenza were something to behold.
Oh, you can believe it. There were flags all around, people on the street celebrating. Quite the sight, indeed. Vettel truly marked himself as a driver to watch that day. He had shown his potential in the way he handled the race, and this certainly set the stage for his future with Red Bull.
And what an incredible journey it turned out to be.
Yes, indeed. His promotion to Red Bull came as early as the 2009 season, and he went on to secure 4 successive titles from 2010 to 2013. It's quite a remarkable achievement, don't you think?
Absolutely. It's testament to his dedication and skill.
Toast, Toro Rosso's team principal at the time, pointed out that Vettel, like all champions, paid great attention to detail and was open to learning from every new challenge that came his way. He had a close relationship with his team, including his engineer and the technical director.
That's a great point. Being a good driver isn't just about skill behind the wheel, but also about forming good relationships with the team. The driver and the team have to work together seamlessly to succeed.
Toast admired Vettel's passion, discipline, and hard work. F1 was the only thing on Vettel's schedule, he was completely focused on it. And it wasn't just about driving, Vettel also worked very hard on the physical side, took care of his nutrition, and studied what his rivals were doing. It's these things that set the top drivers apart.
It's true. It's not just about skill or talent, it's also about consistency, discipline, and strategic thinking.
And Vettel didn't just understand the driving side of F1, but also the technical aspects. He knew how to set up the car, and he worked closely with his engineers to get the car to a level where it could stay in front and win the race.
That's a key aspect, isn't it? A good driver also needs to understand the car, not just how to drive it, but also how to optimize it.
Absolutely. In fact, his engineer, Adami, who later moved with him to Ferrari, echoes these sentiments. He spoke of their very good relationship and how Vettel asked to work with him directly.
That's important, isn't it? Trusting and working closely with your engineer can make a huge difference.
Adami had a great relationship with Vettel, they were honest with each other and humble in their approach. He mentioned that Vettel was young but quite mature, and tackled things professionally. Even when faced with pressure, Vettel coped quite well, which surprised Adami.
That's quite interesting. But here's another perspective. Some would argue that youth, while a positive in many ways, can also lead to a certain lack of perspective or wisdom that only comes with age or experience. Could Vettel's youth, in some ways, have been a disadvantage?
In what sense?
Well, a younger driver might not have the same depth of experience to draw from in high-pressure situations. They might not have the same level of understanding about the nuances of the car or the track. These things can potentially affect their performance.
I see what you're saying. But on the other hand, youth can also mean greater resilience, more energy, and a more open mind, ready to learn and adapt. That was certainly the case for Vettel.
True, but even with that resilience and energy, the burden of responsibility and expectation can be heavy to bear for a young driver. It's a lot of pressure.
It seems we have different views on this. But that's okay. It's important to consider different perspectives. I'll definitely think more about what you've said.
And that's all we can ask for, isn't it? Keeping an open mind and being open to different perspectives. It's okay to not always agree.
And speaking of memories, Adami shared a cherished one. He mentioned that in Hangar 7, the Red Bull Museum, there's still the car they won with in Monza. A plaque describes its significance with the names of Sebastian Vettel, the driver, and Riccardo Adami, the race engineer.
That must be a moving sight, to see the car that brought them victory. It's a testament to their hard work and dedication. And it's preserved there, a symbol of a special achievement in the history of F1.
Absolutely. It goes to show the long-lasting impact of that victory, not just on Vettel's career, but also on the history of Formula One. It's a reminder of a changing of the guard, so to speak, the emergence of a new champion.
Indeed, and it highlights the importance of teamwork. The driver gets most of the attention, but it's a collective effort. The engineers, the mechanics, the strategists, they all play a crucial role.
I couldn't agree more. It takes a whole team to get a car over the finish line. Well folks, it's time to wrap things up. Thank you for joining us here at F1 Motor Fever Podcast as we delved into the captivating career and impressive work ethic of Sebastian Vettel. If you enjoyed it as much as we did, please subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on our upcoming content. Every interaction helps us bring you more of what you love. And don't forget to share our channel with your friends, your family, or anyone else you know who loves Formula One. Your support means the world to us.
Absolutely, and remember, we've always got more exciting stories and insights coming your way. So, keep your eyes peeled for the next episode, it's going to be a scorcher. And a shout out to all the folks who leave comments, we love your feedback and hearing your thoughts on the topics we discuss.
And a special shout out to our friend Enzo Watts, I have a feeling you're going to love this episode. So, until our next rendezvous, remember, pedal to the metal, keep your gaze on the road, our channel's content is pure gold. Bye for now.
Bye, everyone. Can't wait to see you all again soon.